Welcome to our keynote session for the Southern Utah Seniors Conference. If you missed our overview this morning, this is our 20th anniversary of our Seniors Conference. So we are so glad to be here in this wonderful facility, and we are going to have a wonderful discussion for the next hour or so with our keynote speakers, Michael Bahr and Kinsey. And they are Michael is with the Utah Shakespeare Festival, the education director for the Utah Shakespeare Festival, and Jessica is the executive director of the Southern Museum of Art. And they're going to talk to us about art and community, how we can make connections, how we can work together as an integral part of our community. So I'm going to turn the time over to them.
Thank you, Amy. They knew, I actually just found this out. They said, can we put a body mark on you? And I said, yes, that's fine, because I like moving around the stage. Are you guys okay with that? I also, the minute they started taking these lights down, I went, oh no, because I really want to look you in the eyes too, okay? So that way, if you're falling asleep, I can, or if I know who, or if oh shoot, I got to worry about that, I can say, oh. So some of you actually, I'm not going to call upon you, but I'll see you nodding your heads when I start to tell the stories, okay? And our goal today, we're going to spend a really, really fun hour. When they first asked, they said, hey, we would love to talk a little bit about art, the importance of art, really for Keynote. That said, yes, I'd love to. We would love to. Jessica Kinsey, who you're about to meet, how many of you have been over to the Southern Utah Museum of Art? Let me see those hands. Okay, well, if you really happy, you see those hands, but I see hands that have not yet been to Southern Utah Museum of Art. So our goal today is to get in there. Also, of course, because I go to the Utah Shakespeare Festival, how many of you have been to the Utah Shakespeare Festival, volunteer, etc. Great, fantastic. I see familiar faces as well. But before we start talking about that, I want to talk about this concept of art building community. Okay, so art building community, I find that the ABCs of everything we do at the festival, at the Southern Utah Museum of Art, in my life. Art is what brings us all together and gives us personal connection. We want to share a couple examples with you. First of all, the play is the thing wherein we catch the conscience of the king. Tell me what play that comes from. Close is the most famous of all of them. Guy with the skull. Hamlet, right? Okay. So here we have in Hamlet, you know, this poor guy who's having problems with his family. His mom has just married his uncle and just hanging out with his uncle. Out that his uncle has been killed by his dad because a ghost comes to visit him. Just minor family problems, okay, right? And those minor family problems, he doesn't know how he's going to figure out what to do here or how he's going to find out whether his uncle is guilty. And then he goes, wait, I have an idea. A bunch of actors come to his kingdom that he knew back in school, and he says, the play is the thing wherein we'll catch the conscience of the king. I'm going to play, and I'm going to play. The play goes on, and he sees the play, and rises, and lights, lights, and leaves, all upset. Just exactly what you want in the play, right? Okay? That great connection. So, play is the thing, art's the thing. I'm going to give you some very quickly, some fun examples. I don't know if you recognize that picture. Down the corner it says Jim Bridger. Do I have any old Trapper fans? Any Mountain Man fans? Okay. So Jim Bridger was known for all sorts of things in the Old West, for exploring the Old West. What you may not know about Jim Bridger is he's out here exploring the Old West, tracking all those things. You want to know about Shakespeare. So here is a actual documented history of Richard King in reading and asked which was the best book that had ever been written. I told him that Shakespeare was supposed to be the greatest book. Thereupon he made a journey to the main road and lay in wait for a wagon train, and bought a copy from some emigrant paying for it with a yoke of cattle. A complete work of Shakespeare on your shelf is worth about a yoke of cattle. Okay, correct? Which at that time could have been sold for $125. He then hired a German boy for one of the wagon trains at $40 a month to read to him. The boy was a good reader, and Richard took great interest in the reading, listening most intensively for hours at a time. Occasionally, he felt that Madame Spurs so mixed up that he would swear at the street, and then compelled the young man to stop, turn back, and read the page or two until he could get Spurs straight. This continued until he became so hopelessly involved in reading Richard III that he declared that he wouldn't listen anymore to the talk of any man. That ended our reading of Shakespeare. He could give quotation after quotation and was always ready to do so. Sometimes he seasoned them with a broad oath so ingeniously inserted as to make it appear to the listener that Shakespeare himself had used the same language. So here we have an example of this rough-and-tumble Duke Richard buys the Shakespeare text, and after the text, asks the German boy who got cross. And he gets so enthused about it that he says, "Hey, let me find out about it." He wasn't the only person who got enthused about it. The Old West was not only settled by pioneers who came over, but when the miners heard about it, they came over. I don't know if you know that, but miners love their Shakespeare. Couple stories. Peter has always possessed an enormous pull for the miner, even in his wild estate. This is from back then. If you went down to San Francisco and shows Shakespeare on the dance, it didn't much matter. The glamour of the stage was there. It skips. Nothing to do, but they need something to do. These are major players on the stage back then. The Booths, you all know John Wilkes, but his brother Edwin went to all of the mining camps to perform before he went back east. Bought a Crabtree, Old Montez, thespians by hundreds who stripped the red shirt from the miners' back and replaced it with broadcloth, entertainment, what they want. And a bunch of other quotes, but for purposes of time, from there. Long story short, these miners and communities were settled, colonized, civilized by the works of art that were performed. That's the Salt Lake Theater. The pioneers arrived in Salt Lake Valley in 1847. The first built a theater called the Bahr, which ran in 52. And then after that, they built the Social Hall. Looking around and seeing some nodding heads, you have the Social Hall Avenue. It was known as this theater. Then, before the large temple or tabernacle built, they built this, which was the largest and for a time the only theater that was west of the Mississippi. Actors, etc. Brigham Young said the following. He said, I'll just do the quote. It's not a PC quote, so here it is. I'm going to said, if I was placed upon a cannibal island and was charged with the task of civilizing the inhabitants, I would straightway go with the purpose. Kind of ahead of his time, with other people at the time were saying, oh no, theater is bad, etc. He said he would much rather have murders on the stages so that he wouldn't have murders. So that there is, he recognizes the use of theater and art as a way of building and putting things together. Yes. Now we're going to jump. I just want you to realize that we didn't put art here on India in American culture. Even as a costume, you step in there, notice that there's symbolism in the costume. You see that American flag that's in there as well. So art is happening in all communities and is used to bring all communities together. This leads me right to this guy. Okay? So I look at How many of you in this house, when I'm going to be excited by how many of you have a chance to okay? Not I love asking this question. So, thank you. Just so you know, many in our theaters, we're here for that. But benefited from what happened way back in 1961 when he put the theater together. And what he did is this guy was a young, dynamic, kind of energizing, buddy, Peter Pan type of guy who was here in the late 50s. He said, I'm going to go to Shakespeare. I was something John. Come from all of the United States to come and see Shakespeare on these shows. We do that. And the first year, but he didn't just grab a whole bunch of professional actors and dump them in there. He went, not because I met the people that he did this football team and said, I need someone to play Petruchio. I need you to play Petruchio. Petruchio was this big brawn. And over to the whole deck department, which they had at the time. Had them have auditions. They grew and grew and grew to what we have here. He engaged the community in the art, and it grew. Work and programs. Actually, I know there are also involved aliens, with the aliens and that. And then about the mid-80s, because I was here for this conversation, somebody came up and they said, why do you have all these volunteers? You could hire that out. You can hire other people to do the work. That's not what I have. Because they love and believe in it. That is what I can't buy that. So he used arts to engage the community, to bring the community into making it. The last quick story I'll tell you before I go into the next few slides. Volunteers are really, really important. We have a team of 350 volunteers. They'll help us. So that's there. When somebody comes up and asks one of our paid employees, because we also have about 350 paid employees here. It's bigger than Walmart, that's 700 people all making that thing go. But when a patron is asking for something, it's the volunteer. Oh, that will be located over here. That will be located over here. I started off when you won the Tony Award way back in 2000. More than 20 years ago. That is older than this organization. Yay, 20 years. Is that fantastic? When we won the Tony Award, called out, they said, the award, all excited. When they give the award, that's not how there will be 5 people who will be accepted that award. This is not how to do things in New York. There will just be one person that will be giving it to you. He said, there will be 5 people on the stage, and I will bring those 5 people with me. So he had 4 governors, he had university, a number of people, so he had 5. I'm going to keep back to town. How many of you ever want to keep back to town? There are many people who want to keep back. Came back, they flew back in. When they flew in, fire trucks being they got up and drove around town like we want some type of football, or drove fire engines and friends are waving people as they come in. Then we arrived and we pulled into the auditorium and got out. Previously, we had said, everyone who has any Shakespeare festival. Person to person to person, and it goes all the way around the board, all the way until it eventually moves back around the atmosphere and then into the atmosphere. That's art. So, what on earth does that have to do with art? Builds you. Can you see what that's a picture of? That's an older gentleman who is holding a picture of his teeth. And because I just got the class, right? So let me tell this story quick. I'm old enough to have getting implants. I go in, and you know, they won't let just anybody take you home. I can't go back out of the car and drive after somebody pick me up, okay, right? So I'm going in there for a checkup. I do that, I'm fine, I'm going back out. I go back for the other checkup, and I find one of my daughters. I find and I go, oh, it's so good to see you. What are you doing? I got my teeth done. It's so good to see you. Yeah, I'm here. I said, oh, you're here to pick up your mom. Because she's just, you know, been under sedation and just got out. So, yeah, fantastic, great. I'll say hi. So we walk back there. Sure, no, she's there. I'm not going to tell you her name, okay? Because HIPAA, I can't tell her. So she's in there. And she sees me and we say hi and go up there. And she says, oh, my last come to. I'm at the doctor. So I go up and go, yeah, what is it? It says, I need a vocal coach. Do you have a vocal coach you could recommend? I go, oh, yeah, got many vocal coaches, but what do you think? Pop, classical, what type of things? It's not for my daughter. It's for me. Because when I was hurting, I didn't sing, and I was in the choir, and all those things were super involved. And I've just been thinking about it. I want to get back in the game. I want to do that. And I said, I'm so glad. Absolutely. I won't remember any of this because I'm under sedation right now. I said, no, that's fine. I will get this list to you. And I will have it. And it occurred to me as I was putting this little talk together, I guarantee you, being in a play. I remember being in a play when I was 16 years old. One time in a business where I started to associate with the play. But we have a theater company because in Arizona, Wyoming, we go down to a place called Theater West down in Phoenix, and they want us to come. Honestly, we've got 2 days here. You know, those are the only 2 days. Those are the only 2 days. He said, because we're doing plays, we've got this recital, we've got all this, all of the participants in this. And tell you that theater, art, dance, all of that continues on at whatever age. Art builds you the same way that we put our teeth back in. The last slide here, okay? I love this poem. I use it all the time. It's one of my favorites. Okay, it goes like this. 2 frogs fell into a deep bowl. One was an optimistic soul. The other took the word. He'll drown, he said without more ado. So when the last despairing cry, he flung up his legs and said, goodbye. The other frog. I can't get out, but I won't give in. I'll just swim about till my strength is spent, then I shall die with the work. Great swam till it would seem his efforts began to churn the cream. So on top of the butter, at last he stopped, and out of the bowl, he proudly hopped. What of the moral? 'Tis easily found. If you can't get out, keep swimming around. There are so many ways to swim around. And I'm going to turn the time over to Jessica. I want to talk to you about in this that allow us to keep swimming around, and it's that part, the same part, that Bridger, Americans, Fred Adams himself did to build and keep people together. So we're going to open up for questions at the end. Jessica, take it away. Have a good time. Sorry, I should have given you some time here. Thank you. Much prettier.
I have to be a visual person too. I just wanted to take the time to introduce you to myself and this amazing organization. Talk a little bit about the community. I got into our museum was because of community engagement. We think in museums about how we want to reach people at every life cycle. So down at Southern Utah Museum of Art, you'll see in a couple of slides, we're trying to do programming to reach all of those ages and to really create a sense of belonging. So if you're not aware, a few people haven't been, I just want to around this photo of the museum, because you see it nestled in the really Jewish Sorensen Center for the Arts, just right here, a few blocks from downtown Cedar City. And I was so excited 5 years ago in Oklahoma to run the museum. I was just over the moon. First at the architecture, and some of you might think, oh, I hate the way that building looks. But it's inspired by a slot canyon, which we can find a lot of those in Southern Utah. And so even though it was designed by architects in Los Angeles, and I've come to realize what do architects in Los Angeles know about designing buildings for Utah, they don't. But I was thrilled that they used our region and our landscape for inspiration for this building. The other thing I was really excited about was the Utah Shakespeare Festival. Before I came here, if you would have asked me about the Utah Shakespeare Festival, I would have guessed it was in Salt Lake City. I would not have guessed that it was in Cedar City, in a community of, at the time, 30,000 people. And I just think that what Fred did and what they do today is really, really remarkable. I worked in other university art museums, and I can say one of the unique things here is that our summer is our busiest season, and it's because of the Utah Shakespeare Festival, and it's because of the national parks and Cedar Breaks National Monument. Other university art museums, your least liked exhibition up in the summers is a ghost town. No one's really coming to the museum. So to be able to experience here in the summers has been really, really exciting. And for me, the Beverly Taylor Sorensen Center for the Arts is the perfect opportunity to bring the visual arts and the performing arts together. And I'm so happy to have a partner in Michael Bahr. For the museum specifically, we're trying to connect the campus and the community with the visual arts. Definitely see the museum space as a place for creating that intersection for people. And community engagement, like I said, is why I got into museums. I've said in the past to people, I would much rather the museum sound like the YMCA than a public library. It should be a place where you can get excited, you can laugh, and you can talk about maybe what you're experiencing. One time I had a museum volunteer tell me that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. And I think when you're in a museum and you're experiencing artwork, and if you are scratching your head, not understanding what you're looking at, or you just hate this piece, or you think you could do it, at least you felt something. It evoked a response out of you. And I think that that's what we're trying to do here at Southern Utah Museum of Art. But I think museums have that ability to create that culture of belonging, that sense of belonging for communities. And I know for me personally, through COVID-19, that's what I felt like I was missing, and what we were losing was a sense of community. And so it's so great to see you in this room today and to have this opportunity to talk with you. The other thing that I think is important about whether it's museums or performing arts organizations is it's your staff, it's your people, it's your volunteers. An engaged staff and volunteers means you're going to have a more engaged audience. So we're trying to create that sense of belonging for people who come through the door. But this is your museum, whether you're an SUU student, have been in this for generations. So we really try to balance out our exhibitions to have things that will appeal to everyone. That's no easy task. This is an image that I'd love to share because it's from 2019. And it was actually a year before, in 2018, I had a student come to me who was majoring in Spanish and working at the front desk. And he asked if he could create a day of the dead festival, some kind of event that could help our community, this other culture. Very, very respectful people who have passed before. And I said, sure, let's do it. I think the art museum can be a space for this, for other cultures and celebrating other cultures. And he came back and said, we're going to have 400 people at this event. And I told him, I love your museum, but I think we're going to have 100 people at this event. It's still going to be a great success. So I go off to New York for a museum conference, and I start to get calls and texts of very panicked staff members. There were 1,100 people that came to that event in 3 hours, and if you get in our museum, you know that it is meant for 1,100 people. I think our classroom capacity is about 45, and there were 300 people crammed into that classroom, trying to make activities all around the Day of the Dead. So I knew in 2018, there's a real need for this. You don't necessarily have to be Hispanic to want to learn more about this or want to celebrate Day of the Dead. It was amazing. And so in 2019, we took over the whole Beverly Center for the Arts and put on more of a larger block party event, and had 4,000 people come in 4 hours. And I use this as an example because it was a great way to have people of Hispanic heritage in our county and in our region. I would say that probably half of the people there that day, Spanish was their first language. But there were also people from our community didn't know anything about Day of the Dead, and they were looking for something free and fun and educational. And I think that that's just the power that community engagement can have for museums and for arts organizations in general. So it's exciting to be able to play a role for this community. And the last thing I'll say before I move on to the next one is I've worked in other museums, and I have found that being in a more rural community, we can have a larger impact, and that has been so thrilling for me as a museum director. I can tell you in previous jobs, I did a similar Day of the Dead event, and we had 100 people. And so it's been really fun to be able to have that kind of impact and show the community another part of the world or another part of time and history. So it's been great, and just for you to understand this well beyond what's hanging on the wall. In fact, I've been working in museums for almost 13 years. This is what is most important to me, not necessarily the art on the wall. So luckily I was able to hire a full-time curator, so she can worry about what's on the wall. So a little bit about our organization, just our mission statement. We are under the parent organization of Southern Utah University, very similar to the Utah Shakespeare Festival. And so our mission ties right in with theirs, and at the heart of it is experiential learning. And of course, our first priority is wanting to create those opportunities for SUU students. But like I mentioned, it's really about creating opportunities for people of all ages and backgrounds. You don't have to know anything about art to come into the museum. You have to take an art history class. You bring your own life experiences and perspectives that help you understand or interpret what you're looking at. It's funny, I talked with a science museum one time. They mentioned that they don't have physicists on staff. They have staff who can work with physicists to help us understand the laws of physics of all ages. That's what needs to happen in our museums. A lot of them are so run by art historians and PhDs do need that knowledge, but sometimes it gets lost on our visitor and who we're really doing it for. And so I've been really proud at SUMA that there's not ego involved. It's about creating a culture of belonging. We do have some core values, probably really hard for you to all read these, but collaboration. SUMA engages its dynamic communities as a supportive connector through the visual arts. Our second value is welcome. SUMA invites open-mindedness and diverse exhibitions and programs for people of all ages and backgrounds. And lastly, growth. The SUMA encourages exploration, innovation, and ambition for all visitors and stakeholders in a creative and thought-provoking atmosphere. So like I mentioned, we've been trying to really create unique experiences for people of all ages and backgrounds. It starts with a 2-year-old who can come to a program called Create Play Day, where we do story time and activity, all the way up to, I've got the next slide, a new program that we're doing, I'll talk about in a second, for people over 55. But this slide just shows you, on the left, we did a life drawing series, workshop series, because there's nowhere in the community to do life drawing, so you would have to be an SUU student. So this helped us open that up to a broader audience. In the middle, it might look like there's just a group of little people hanging out in what looks like maybe a pit, but this is what we call land art. This is a piece from the 70s called Double Negative, and it's down in Nevada. We did a series called Art Adventures, where we want to take people from the community out into places to explore art outside of a museum setting. Or maybe work with an artist and learn how to use liquid pastels and paint a landscape painting like Jimmy Jones. So that's our group in Nevada there in the middle. And then you'll see the picture on the right is a team at one of our teen art camps. So we're really trying to engage people in any life cycle that you have a role to play in the museum. And this I'm really excited because the Utah Division of Arts and Museums, which is our state agency, has been given a federal grant to help with creating projects and programs around the state. And so creating over 55, and SUMA was part of their pilot program. So one of my team members went and did through a workshop, and then that made us eligible for a grant, and we received $3,000 to start a book arts workshop series with Sue Cotter. She's a local artist based in Carolyn that is for people 55 and older. And the pilot project went so well that we totally sold out on the series, but it's something that we're going to continue to do probably about 3 times a year, so fall, spring, and summer. So our website if you're interested in this kind of information, but we're trying to do more hands-on workshops, and you don't have to be an artist. A lot of people ask, artists, I'm not an artist, I can draw stick figures. That's about it. My dad and my brother have the artistic. I'm just an appreciator of other people's abilities. But we're trying to have these types of workshops and programs so that you can have a creative outlet. And you have to have all the tools. You don't even have to clean up after yourself. You get to make a mess, and the SUMA team will be there to. And then before I talk about some upcoming exhibitions that I want you to be aware of, I just thought I would talk about what we want our exhibitions at SUMA to do and what they must be for us. So they must welcome and be accessible to both the SUU campus and the Cedar City community, spark ideas related to creativity and culture, be relevant to the faculty and students of the SUU Department of Art and Design, incorporate diversity and partnerships and collaborations, activate learning through experiences for all ages, find a balance between SUU and faculty artists, local and regional artists, and national or internationally known artists. Now that last piece, that is our big challenge and opportunity, but it keeps us on our toes. So a couple of exhibitions that are about to open June 4th. This one I'm really excited about. It's called I'm Walking for My Freedom, the Summer March for Voting Rights. And this show came about because of the Utah Shakespeare Festival. They're in their fall season, production called Thurgood, Thurgood Marshall, the Civil Rights Movement. And that sparked for us to want to do something visually that could tie in with that exhibition. So this exhibit features 40 photographs by a photographer, Matt Herring. And what he did was he went down and followed along with this march and took these photographs. They're all black and white, all on loan to us from the Center for Documentary Arts, which is in Salt Lake City. So really exciting for us to tie in visually with what's happening next door, but also to try to help our community and our visitors of these topics that we might are in the past, but certainly are part of our present and our future. So a lot of photographs with Martin Luther King Jr. And other people who were instrumental in the civil rights movement. And the other exhibition is much more abstract. It's called The Space Visions of the Southwest. And what this show does is it features 4 artists, so you're only getting to see half of them. But 2 modern artists, meaning they were working in the 1950s and 60s. Their names were Louis Reebok and Beatrice Manlin. From New York to Mexico, and when they got to New Mexico, their work totally changed. So the picture on the right is of Louis Reebok, and when they were in New York, they were working on much more representational. And when they got to Taos, it opened landscape after being in New York just sparked something for them. And they went much more abstract. In fact, this piece on the right is called, it's part of this Canyon series. You know, looking at it, you might not think that that's a canyon, but the artist is giving us a little hint with the title. And his partner, the other artist, like I said, they were both working in the 1950s and 60s. And then the other 2 artists are contemporary. They're working right now. So 2 modern artists, 2 contemporary. The one on the left is Salt Lake City, and she works in very minimal sort of color palettes and use of canvases. Some of her work that you'll see in SUMA this summer can actually be changed. You can move canvases and change them up if you were to purchase a piece of the house. You get to kind of move it. And then the other contemporary artist is based in Santa Fe, Mexico, and his name is Arlo Monica, and he's part of the Tewa tribe. And so we're excited to use his work because it will be 3-dimensional, and it looks very similar to Shilpi's, very simple, monochromatic, but in a 3D form. So some really cool sculptures. Ways to get engaged and involved. I mentioned the Creative Aging Program, but we also have what we call Friends of SUMA. It's very similar to the Shakespeare Guild. It's $50 a year where we get to support the museum, but also get benefits like getting to go to artist talks, getting free admission programs I shared in that other slide, and getting previews of our exhibitions before they open to the public. So I did bring a couple of brochures that I just left on the stage. This be stage right.
Say it is word. So I was super busy, and my wife signed up for this. And I said, "What's this?" She said, "It's Prince." So what's really cool is she invites the artists to come to talk about the art, and then Jessica introduced them, and you are this far away from the artist who is making that art. It's incredible. I thought, how much we pay for this? Oh my gosh, I would pay that for one visit. But all through the Andy Warhol, what's the name of the other gentleman?
Billy Shake.
Oh my gosh, Billy Shake, her and Billy Shake are tight. I had no idea. Jessica Kinsey knows all these artists from all over the country, and I'm getting to hear Billy Shake who knows Andy Warhol. It's incredible. Sorry I inserted myself, but you know why I did. Because it's amazing.
And you can insert yourself in a second too when you see your granddaughter pop up in one of those. So I did bring some information, but you also can check out our website. I got that one sent. Here's, yeah. So just, yes. Showing off all her materials that she got through an art camp. So just different ways that you can connect with us. Our website is svu.edu/SUMA. We are on social media, so if you're on Facebook or Instagram, you can find us there. I've got our email, which is svu.edu, and our phone number there. If you have any questions, want to know more information, if you're ever coming to the museum and you would like an accommodation, we can help with all of those types of things too. Or if you'd ever want to set up a tour of an exhibition and get to hear from the curator or myself, maybe and some friends. So just know that we're right just a few blocks away from here, free admission, and this summer we are extending our hours. So June 4th through September 24th will be open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. all summer long. To continue to bring these exhibitions.
We celebrate. So I can't tell you my granddaughter's picture. So they have all sorts of camps and classes for little ones, medium-sized ones, and ones like us. And as they continue through all that, I come home and she's got this SUMA bag with all of these art things. And I said, you know, what art school did you raise? Where did you get that from? I said, well, that was just part of our class. I said, I can't believe that. There's another membership, which is
SUMA families, it's $75, and you get a box. So for your grandkids,
you get a box.
Get a box.
You get a box.
I'm very excited about the box. The box is full of goodies. We created a little mascot for our families. It's a little fox. His name's Floyd, which was Jimmy Jones's middle name, Floyd. So he's Floyd the Fox. He's our little SUMA family's mascot. And just again, really trying to get at an early age people engaged with the arts and different materials in the museum setting. I will say I don't have children. And a few months ago, I went to Indiana to watch my 6-year-old nephew for a week while his parents went off to Mexico. I'm thinking, I'm going to take him to the first art museum. I take him into the Fort Wayne Art Museum, and it was terrifying. And now I understand if you have kids or grandkids, it doesn't feel like an art museum is a very kid-friendly space, but we certainly are trying to make SUMA exactly that.
We still have a little bit of time. I'm looking at you. We still have a little bit of time, which was perfectly part of the plan, 10 minutes, right? Because again, the goal today was to talk about how art builds this, how art builds you, and how it can continue to build. So I'm going to open it up for any questions you may have about the Shakespeare Festival, or about SUMA, Museum of Art, or just about anything you want to do. I will tell you, that enthusiasm is real. I'm not just manufacturing that. Talking, getting a chance, and actually video thing. I couldn't get enough. Whenever my wife and I go on vacation, it's not a lot because of how busy our jobs are. We're going to go on vacation. What do? Go out and eat. Go to museums. Go into stuff. It's amazing. We have that right here. Right here. And the opportunities to get for association are really amazing. I think Fred knew that. Fred wanted to bring that. We call it the Beverly. The center is called Beverly, named after Beverly Taylor Swanson, who also was a visionary about art out to all and involving everybody. So, yeah, so we're honored that we had the opportunity to talk about that. Any questions you may have? Questions? Yes, right there in the back. Yeah, absolutely.
Mostly the challenge is, again, finding that balance. So we are a university campus, and we have the Department of Art and Design. So we want to feature the faculty that teach in that program through exhibitions. So we have a biennial, happens every other spring. But we also want to give graduating an opportunity to show their work in the museum before they leave. So we do host every spring the senior capstone exhibition of students who are about to go out to the real world. So basically, the challenge is having those things that happen. That's usually our spring semester. But we have amazing local and regional artists who, I mean, think about Southern Utah. It has been a place of inspiration for centuries. Lots of artists have been here for a really long time. And so there's a huge number of artists that are right here in our backyard. So we want to feature those artists as well. But then we want, I think what Jimmy Jones is is that
How many of you know who Jimmy Jones is? Right? You just
yes. Jimmy Jones was born here in City, and when he would a young age, he wanted to be an artist. Not to LA to art school, but ended up transferring to finish up his undergraduate degree. First thing he portraits in the mid-70s. When he went to be the caretaker of the North Rim Lodge, the Grand Canyon for winter. I can imagine being there all winter long. And it was there that he started painting the Grand Canyon and painting landscapes and never went back to about 55 works in our permanent working on creating a permanent installation. More about him and his work, as well as explore a scrapbook for his family drawings and posters.
Those of you who know Jimmy Jones, I guarantee you, if you've lived in this community for at least 10 years, you have seen his work.
You could walk into Zion's Bank across the street, and you would see Jimmy Jones's work.
Like walking through Canyon itself.
State Bank of Southern Utah has quite a few in their lobby as well. But you know, we want to celebrate what he did, and I think that's both by supporting the next generation of Jimmy Joneses who are painting, but also he did not want people to have to go to Los Angeles or Chicago. And as we just mentioned, we have an Andy Warhol right here of his cowboys and Indians along the bank, who is 74 and still a rancher in New Mexico. West, and he was quite the character. He immersed himself in really famous. We're trying, so it's about finding balance happening right here in our community, but we also want to bring things to this community that you would never have expected. I don't think it's back to how that walk inside.
About 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we have 3 seminars, which I would love for everyone to come and participate in this, where you get to talk about the play the night before. It doesn't happen across the country. Yeah. So we have 120 people who come for the 9 o'clock morning for about the plays that happen. Well, last year during COVID, it's really, really lovely to be able to, when we got done with those, to be able to send people over to the museum to see amazing work, and people comment to us, and then continuously, wow, I can see this amazing theater as well. Other questions? Other questions? Really quickly, because I didn't tell you what we're doing this summer. Great summer. We've got King Lear, we have Allswell at Enswell, we have Sweeney Todd. Do you know the play Sweeney Todd? Oh, everyone who knows, they go, oh, I'm so excited. Outside, for those of you who don't, it's about the demon barber of Fleet Street. Yeah, this guy, if was taken away from him, he's a barber. Yeah, yep, I see him. I'm not there. I saw well, I just might see that. I just might go there. It's going to be playing Brian Ball himself, who's playing the Deep Barber, and it's going to be an amazing and amazing work that we're doing that year to make it ready for that. We're doing the sound of music. It's going to be amazing. We're doing the Tempest. We're also doing the third bit, which talks about Thurgood Marshall. And another amazing play we did in 1955 called Trouble in Mind. It's written by a Black playwright. Amazing play. I would say you can't believe this is written in 55 about this actress, this artist. And then there's a musical / comedy called Clue, based on the board game, based on the film. Very, very popular. Some people want to. So I like to think USF is like a buffet. You'll say, "Oh, I'll have some of that, I'll have some of that, oh, I'll have some of that, oh, that looks interesting, I'll have some of that." It's got everything. So, wonderful local discounts you participate in, and again, are always looking for people to help serve volunteer basis as well. So, any other questions? Anything else?
What's the website for
Bahr for the Shakespeare Festival? Thank you very much. That might be you might have passed this, you might have logged me a song because I can go on for a long time about the website. Our website's really easy. ART, Bahr.org. And Bahr.org. Those of you that know, I saw your head, you were throwing a softball. Okay? A man by the name of Bruce Lee, not this Bruce Lee. Okay? Bruce Lee is our publications director. He just retired this year, but he's still working. And was a man even for a number of years, way back when they invented the internet. What should we have on our website be? Visionary, like Fred. He said it should be Bahr.org, not Utah Shakes, not Utah Shakespeare Festival. It should be Bahr.org. We get compliments all the time for those of you that are know. Those of you that aren't know, a bard is a storyteller. A bard is the guy who tells the stories, and bards were all over in England. The most famous bard of them all, the bard of Avon, was William Shakespeare. So, you want William Shakespeare? You go to Bahr.org. Ask that question. It's been a joy. Thank you so very, very much. We'll see you all.
And one thing for those of you who attended our presentation with Teresa Burrell, she was our I'm going to add 2 cents to their presentation before we wrap up. There's a misconception that you have to be good at art to participate in it, or you have to be good at theater or good at music. You don't have to be good, you just have to love it. If you want to sing, sing great, or sing. Enjoy it where you can. A wonderful, wonderful part. Very much. We're going to turn our time over to awards. the hard way. I can't bend down in the stress. And I'm no Marilyn Monroe. I'm going to start sharing your advisory board forward. So at the Grant Agency on Aging, we have several boards. If anybody's looking for volunteer opportunities, advisory board or board, our board is something that your alley. Yes, we're here to build a better. And first, I'm going to bring Tina. Was our nurse at Pine County for several years. And one of the things he did for us was he had a wife named Nancy Morrill. And Nancy was one of our case managers. And she took care of all of us and make sure we laughed, make sure we followed. And she took care of her clients. And anybody that had her for a client knew they had the best case manager. She just did everything right. So here they help present some awards. And the committee. And so Sherry is going to come with you. And then Sherry, you'll do.
So we are giving the word to Brad and Terry Cullen. Would you guys like to maybe come up? Terry have been caregivers for their parents in the past, and because of the path they took, in order to find resources and help, they have become caregivers as well. They encourage others to find a good support system, and they work hard. Family matters. They both devote their time and energy to making sure that other caregivers are doing okay. A number of members had a health crisis. When they were notified that she had not responded to her call, they went to her home to find her in need of medical services. They spent the night at the emergency room making sure that her medical needs were met, and while she was at the hospital, they took care of her home and things that needed attention. They also visited the rehab center to make sure she was being treated and that she had visitors. Carrie and Brad were her eyes and ears with the medical personnel for their family. She has since been released to go home, so they made sure her house was where she arrived. They now visit her daily to make sure she's safe and has what she needs. They take her to her appointments and are the eyes and ears so that she has the backup. This is one example of what they do. They advocate for their matters, spend several hours each evening checking in on the people that attend the support group. They spend time navigating their loved ones. Time that they are dedicating to others in their community on their own time. They could stop caring for others when their parents pass, how difficult the journey is. Themselves to helping others figure it out as easy as possible, and to also let them know that they are not alone. Brad and Terry are true examples of caring and loving people.
I'm going to interrupt Rosie. So they're being given a plaque, and on the plaque it says, I'm going to read it correctly. The simple act of caring is heroic, and it's by Edward Albert. Edward Albert was an actor, but he wasn't nearly as famous as his father. He took care of his father, Eddie Albert, who was in Creators, and followed dementia for 5 years, and he was his primary caregiver. And right after his father died, he actually passed away, and he got cancer. And I think a lot of had to do, or they feel like a lot of had to do with taking so much time to give himself as a caregiver, and that's why he passed away. And so we thought this was a perfect caregiver quote. So that's what's on the plaque. So now I'm going to let Rosie go forward.
Alex Brody. Alex quit his job in Reno, Nevada, and moved to St. George to care for his mother. She could no longer live alone. Alex joined Memory Matters support group to get information and ideas for her. Learning how to care for level a woman and his mother was a challenge that he took on. He took his mother to classes during the days, and as he took activities with her. He in her home until she passed away earlier this year. Caring for his mother was life-changing, but also a gift for him to give her. He loves his mother very much. Alex continues to go to the support group to help others.
All right, I have the pleasure of talking about Karen Ekman. Come on up. If you're Williams. Karen was the caregiver for her husband until he passed away. To make sure he was as comfortable and lift his wheelchair properly, and also lift his wheelchair into a vehicle. She knew how important it was not to hurt herself because she needed to be there for him. She was also the caregiver for their adult daughter who was blind. During all of this, she kept a positive attitude and was open to suggestions and help. Karen kept her husband active and involved in the life of the children. So she could be with them for him to sleep in their hotels and their travels for his comfort. She was willing to share tips and tricks with others, their loved ones, and how to stay positive. I want to share with you the Nancy. So for the Area Agency on Aging at Hyde County, we have something better than an Oscar. It's called Winning the Nancy, and it's the Caregiver Award. And when we picked up this award, Nancy's all things color. And we saw this with she's perfect for Nancy. So this is the Nancy. And we're awarding to Nancy, 25 years old. And he first was a caregiver for his mother with cancer. And his mother was a caregiver for her mother, who's from another country, speaks Spanish, does not speak English. And so he ended up taking over as his grandmother's power of attorney and guardian when his mother passed away. He also had responsibility of younger siblings. His name is Jake Ritchie. And he come up. We had a beautiful picture of him and his family together. I'm so sad I can't get him to come up. But Jake Ritchie, he's 25 years old. And the reason he can't be here today is he's being a kid, which is where he needs to be. One of his friends is getting married, and the bachelor party was out of town. I wish he could have been here so you could meet this remarkable young man. He was actually nominated by more than one person. That's people who know this. And he has just taken on responsibility far beyond his years. And that's why he was chosen to be the winner of the Nancy. You and I will meet with him next week to bring the Nancy Award to him. And you'll see our beautiful Nancy. I'm going to have all of our staff come to the front of the stage. And then I'm going to have Maria and Tony come up here. We're going to be doing these wonderful door prizes. This is going to be so fun.